Hello everyone, welcome to week 16, lecture 1, and today we'll be discussing about population ecology, understanding population in the environment. Population ecology is the study of populations, their size, density, distribution, growth, and interaction with the environment. It is important because it helps us understand the ecosystem dynamics, conservation, and resource management. So the key concepts related to population ecology are population size, density, distribution, and dynamics. Population size means number of individuals of one particular species. Population density is the number of individuals per unit area or volume. There are different patterns of population. For example, clumped is when the individuals aggregate in patches, for example, schools of fish. Or the pattern can be uniform, where the population of individual is evenly spaced, for example, in terrestrial animals. Or the distribution can be random, which is the population of individual is distributed randomly in an unpredictable spacing, for example, plants in a wind dispersed seed scenario. Age structure means the proportion of individuals in different age groups. The population growth can be in an exponential manner or a logistic manner. In exponential growth, the growth is very fast. The curve is a J-shaped curve, and the formula used for calculating the growth is multiplying a capita rate with the population size. So you already have some population size, that is n, and that is growing at certain rate, which is r. So r multiplied by n gives you the growth of population at any given time. Logistic is an S-shaped curve where in the beginning the population is growing relatively slower, and then suddenly you see a sudden increase in the growth rate, and when it reaches the carrying capacity of the ecosystem, it again plateaus and the growth rate again slows down. There are several factors that affect population growth. First are density dependent factors, which is competition for resources. If there are more number of individuals in a particular area, they will compete for resources, and that will limit their population growth. Presence of some predators or diseases or parasites will also lead to the slower growth rate. Density independent factors are climate. So there can be any number of individuals living in an area, but if there is sudden change in the climate, for example drought or floods, the population growth will be limited. And some natural disaster, irrespective of number of individuals, again the occurrence of natural disasters such as wildfire or hurricane will affect the population growth of an area. So there are two kinds of strategies used by living organisms. The R-selected species are those that reproduce at a very high rate. That's why they have a shorter lifespan and they give minimum parental care to their offspring. For example, insects and bacteria. They grow at a very fast rate. Some of the offsprings die, but many survive just because their number is too large. The K-selected species are those that produce less number of offsprings, for example human beings, but they have longer lifespan and they have to give more parental care because there are only number of individuals they produce, so they want to make sure that they survive. For example, elephants, human beings. Now there are two kinds of competitions that exist among populations. One is an intra-specific competition, that is the competition within the individuals of the same species, mainly for the resources. For example, a wolf competing for a prey. And the other competition is between a predator and a prey, where the predator is trying to kill the prey and the prey is trying to escape or save its life. For example, the interaction between lynx and hare, where you see a cycling pattern. In the beginning, lynx population is low and there are many hare in the area. As the lynx population increase, they eat more hare and then the hare population goes down. But when the hare population goes down, the lynx is out of the food resource and its population also goes down. When the lynx population has gone down, there is no more predator, the hare population can go up again. And this cycling is the indication of predator-prey dynamics. Human population has seen exponential growth over the recent history. This has led to overpopulation and rapid depletion of resources. And this exponential growth has happened because of the advancement in availability of food resources and the advancement in medical science. Demographic transition model helps in understanding the stages of population growth based on the birth and death rate. It helps us understand how industrialized countries transition to a more stable population as compared to the developing nations where you see a rapid change in the population dynamics. That is because there is change in the spread of the diseases, availability of the resources, and medical advancements. But in the developed nations, the other factors have kind of stabilized, and that's why the population rate, which is the birth rate and the death rate, have also stabilized. The knowledge of population ecology helps us in managing endangered species, because if we have a criteria of knowing what is the change in population of different species, we can predict that these species are endangered and these species needs to be preserved or conserved. Population ecology also helps us in maintaining sustainable hunting and fishing practices so that we don't go overboard with these practices, because we have some perspective of the change in the population of species that is being hunted or killed. The population ecology also helps in urban planning and management of resources and their allocation, and in understanding spread of diseases such as COVID-19. When we study population ecology, we get a perspective of the global issues such as habitat destruction, climate change, and presence of invasive species. It helps us in developing a research focus which aims at developing sustainable population management strategies and for restoration of our ecosystems, how we can preserve. Let's look at the case study of royal wolves and moose in Michigan. So Isle Royale area was overpopulated by moose in 1920s. That led to severe depletion of food resources and a crash by 1935. Wolves came to Michigan area from Canada in 1945 through an ice bridge. When these wolves came into the area, they started killing the moose, and the moose population went down. But eventually, because now the wolf population had ran out of food resource, their population also started declining. Since these wolves were completely inbred, they did not have the capability of developing survival strategies. So they were highly dependent on the moose population. That's why they could not find any other sources of food, leading to ultimately the decline in the wolf population. And we can see that towards the time between 1985 and 1995, when the population of wolf declined, we could see a simultaneous increase in the population of moose. And these dynamics keep happening, indicating again a predator and prey interaction. The challenges faced these days related to the growth of a population are becoming actually a global issue. For example, the destruction of habitats. The wildlife is losing their habitats. We are also losing the biodiversity. This is also related to the climate change. When the climate changes, the area is no longer inhabitable by different species which was previously habitable. Then the invasion of some new species which acts as a predator for the existing species, like we just saw the example of wolf that came around from Canada into Michigan and led to a decline in moose population. So the research is now focused at providing some sustainable population management and ecosystem restoration strategies. To summarize, population ecology studies the dynamics of a population in an ecosystem. The key concepts related to population ecology are the growth rate, density, interaction between different members of different species or within the same species, and the environmental factors which affect the growth rate or birth or death rate of different species living in an area. The application of this knowledge ranges from conservation of biodiversity to urban planning and even development of government policies, because the government is able to design, for example, the distribution of vaccines or food resources to certain areas if they have data on population and the factors affecting the population in a certain area.